Well, for more budget reaction now, including how the markets are likely to react to it this morning, let's bring in our business editor, Ross Greenwood from Canberra. Ross, at face value, Jim Chalmers is painting a pretty grim future for the next few years for Australian families.
Yeah, he certainly is. There's no doubt, Pete. And even what you heard Holly and those people in the street talking about is that there's a realisation in Australia now that times are going to get tougher. And the Treasurer has not sugarcoated that at all. And this is an unusual budget in some ways because it actually paints out a almost worst-case scenario. Now, normally budgets don't do that. There's the numbers. That's what you've got. That's what we think it's going to be, for better or worse. In this one, it actually sits out there and paints out a slightly different picture. And this is a good example of it. Here's the inflation forecast. The base case is for inflation to basically rise and peak to 7.75%. But in a worst case scenario, it says, look, it could get higher, out towards 9%. And that being the case, interest rates would stay higher for longer. The second part about this, Pete, is that we are going to see today the latest inflation numbers. The September quarter is out. And you can even see here from the June quarter to the September quarter, there's expected to be a rise from 6.1 to 7%. But the thing you've got to watch here is the so-called trim mean, or the underlying inflation. Now, if it does go to the forecast 5.6%, that will be the highest that underlying rate of inflation has been since 2003, when it was actually begun. And remember, that's the thing that the Reserve Bank wants. But as I say, there's a narrative, a story you can tell from this budget. Here's the Reserve Bank. It says in 2023, next year, that the cash rate will peak at 3.35%, taking people's mortgages above 5%. But that's in the market forecast, not the worst case scenario, where you could see the cash rate, if inflation stays higher, the cash rate and interest rate staying higher for longer. And so here you've got then potentially it running into unemployment. And the trick of this right now is for people to keep their jobs, because if, as expected, the unemployment rate does rise out to 4.5% from the current 3.5%, that would mean there's 140,000 Australians out there looking for work. And so it really is a situation in this budget where it's a pretty bleak sort of outlook for many Australians who recognise that tougher times are coming. But the reality is you'd prefer to have the soft landing, that the interest rates do the right thing, that the economy doesn't fall off a cliff. But certainly what is known right now is that there are some concerns that things could be a whole bunch worse in the future.